Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you through my GCSE art sketchbooks. These sketchbooks did get me 100% in GCSE art, which is something I'm very proud of. I've put a lot of work into them. I was hoping that through the knowledge I've acquired from doing my GCSE art and getting 100%, I could help some of you out. I've got two sketchbooks. This one is my coursework one, and then this one is my exam one, and the exam board that I was doing my exam through was AQA. Now I've kind of adjusted the setup so that I've got room to show you my sketchbooks here. This is my first sketchbook. As you can see, it is completely destroyed. So basically, my sketchbook starts with the beginning of year 10. So the work in it isn't very advanced. We kind of just did like exercises in class, like small drawings here and there. And honestly, none of it is that great. Like these drawings and this, like, it's all unfinished. I have this line painting, a contact page, and this is my first artist page. This is where I thought I was doing good, but it turns out I just filled, let me get the whole thing out. This is where I thought my art was getting really good, but I just filled the whole page with writing, and there's just no art, no images. Here are two more artist pages that I actually really like. And here's a collage and a drawing. This is the worst page in my art book. I'm so embarrassed by it, but it's there. This is my first tip, is that your examiners want to see the progress. So if your art starts like this at the beginning and gets so good towards the end, they will think this person is progressing so much, they will continue to progress. They have a lot of potential. And so leaving the bad work in your book is definitely a really important step. Then here we have another artist page, and then this was a reptiles page all about experimenting with texture. There's a lot of experimentation with textures and different materials like the tissue paper, the graphite powder, and yeah. And then this is just another pour page, which is kind of just showing the process behind the sculpture that we made. I'm not going to say I enjoyed making this sculpture. It was something we had to do, but you know, it was a good experience, because another thing I will say is that everything you do that you don't enjoy is another step to knowing what you do enjoy or what you are good at. Then this page, I honestly don't know what I was thinking. This is just me and my year 10 brain sticking dead leaves on a page, you know. And then this is one of my favourites. So this was at the very last piece of work, not the very last, this was one of the last pieces of work that I did at the end of year 10, and we had to do something on environment, and I was like, "Living on Rose," which is a quote from Sabrina and obviously the song. And Audrey Hepburn is the actress in the film Sabrina, and so I did anything I could to get to drawing her, and I did draw her, and best day of my life. So yeah. This was a response to the year above's GCSE work. So we just had to respond to their work and do a drawing of it, do a bit of writing about it. And then this is the summer between year 10 and year 11. We were given this brief by our teachers where we had to get our resources for what we wanted to do in year 11. We were told between 6 and 10 excellent photographs printed on glossy paper, 2 drawings in any media, spend 1 hour to do both, and 4 objects/things. So I had my 6 photos. My 4 objects were a coconut, a spice thing, a kind of Indian tea thing, and these patterned trousers. And as I went to Sri Lanka between year 10 and year 11, I decided to use that as my document. My 2 drawings was this one of a reptile, which was actually in a lamp, and then this flower one, which is a bit of a poor drawing, but again, shows the progress. And here I just did a bit about the maps, as I wanted to do something with the maps and the environment. I wanted to make a document of my holiday. I looked at different sea textures, if I wanted to have the sea in it, and photographs. Honestly, this work isn't my favourite. I think that I was kind of unsure about what I really wanted to do at the beginning of the year, but that's okay. And again, this page is just like random experimentation, looking at Rembrandt, who did the elephant drawing, looking at different styles of drawing, different things to draw, and also the composition of my first piece. My first piece was like not very good. I was very stubborn about what I wanted, and so I don't love how it turned out. I looked at some different background ideas, and then here's my final piece. So it was a ink background with bleached Sinarlan, I don't know if that's how you say it, letters on it. Then I layered a map on top of that, and then I had, around all the perimeters of the map, I wrote a kind of journal about what we were doing while we were in different parts of the country, and then I stuck on different drawings. Then from here, I kind of took a different route. I was like, I don't really like the work that I've done, so I decided to reevaluate what I wanted to do with my Indian work, and I looked at these photos and I was kind of like, what really stands out to me? What am I inspired by? And the two things which I've written here were the colours of the sculptures and rocks and clothing, and also the faces on the sculptures and how they stand out so much. I looked at this artist, Chris Ofili, who often did work that was like Indian based. He did a lot of work incorporating elephant dung, and I just responded to his pieces. And then this is where I personally think my work got a lot better. This was over a holiday, I remember, and I was like, I'm not happy with my work. I need to find somewhere for it to go, and I need to like get a direction and find what I enjoy. So I found this small artist called Yulia Vladkovska, and I really enjoyed her work. I love the bright colours, I love the drippiness, I love how it was like free. And so I took a lot of inspiration from her. I wrote a bit about her in these like flaps, and some about her pieces. And this is where I come on to tip number 2, which is make your sketchbook interesting. Don't just have like a blank page, like kind of how I've done here. It's just a blank page, there's nothing interesting about it. Here you've got flaps, you've got things to look at, and you won't get bored just flicking through. Then here I kind of explored with how I could create a similar look to Yulia Vladkovska. I've got finger paintings down here, I've got it on white paper and black paper, and then I've got this kind of drippy look, and I've got some with water in, and then some I just did dry paint to see how it looked different. Which brings me on to my tip number 3, which is to always experiment in your book. Your examiners want to see that you haven't just got an idea in your head and you haven't just gone with that. They want to see that you've tried out different things, that you've evaluated all these different ways of doing things, and that you've come to a conclusion of what you think's best. This shows that you're really open to new ideas, and you could come across something amazing while doing this, and that's what they want to see. Here I was just testing different facial features, seeing if I liked the way it looked, and I did. And here I have 2 different colour schemes. One of them is a more primary colours, and then one of them is more fluorescent. I went with the fluorescent because I preferred that one. Then here I have like a kind of piece mock-up, or what my initial idea is. Then this page is like a process page where I started my big piece and I kind of went with it. So I did the initial face, I did some drips, and then I added in some polka dots, as Yulia Vladkovska often used them, and I really liked the way that they looked and kind of gave it a cartoon look. Then I turned my piece sideways and started dripping the paint sideways, and then I added some polka dots and I painted in between every single drip because I didn't do a background first. And then yeah, I actually did another smaller one as well, but I didn't like it. And this brings me on to my tip number 4. If you don't like a piece that you've done, if there's a bit of work that you don't like, don't say that you like it. Your examiners want to see that you are like critical of your own work. So you have to be self-critical. If you do like a piece, then great, say it. If you don't like a piece, say why. Like figure out what's wrong with it, what you can improve, what you do like, what you don't like, and it shows that you're understanding your own work as you go. Then I made a switch from the whole Indian thing to iconic faces. The face of Buddha is a face that's really recognisable, and I wanted to look at other faces that are really recognisable by specific things. So, you know, like the Queen and her crown, or Kate Moss and her blonde hair, or Twiggy's eyes, Marilyn Monroe's lips and eyes. And I then just experimented with a few collage prints and wrote about that. Then I came up with some collage ideas. Oh, this is going to be tricky to show. of Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn and Kate Moss. I did like a background which I thought represented each of them, and a foreground of the city that they are living in or familiar with or from. And I wrote about each of that, why I chose specific things. I came up with colour schemes that I thought represented each person. And then I evaluated which one I wanted to do. I ended up going with the Kate Moss one as I just really liked it. I thought that the image was a really striking one, and then I looked at different ways to paint this, different painterly styles, as the dripping that I had done was very painterly, and so I wanted to do something like that again. And I went on Photoshop as well, and I kind of made her images really simplified and then worked with those. I looked at how I could do Big Ben. I did my London bus in detail. Can't show it, but so yeah. I was kind of just experimenting with different styles of painting, if I wanted things to be detailed or painterly or representative, you know. And then I looked at the artist Gary Hume, who did really simplified Kate Moss drawings and paintings, and I was really inspired by his colours, especially in this piece, as I thought that her blonde hair is what she's really famous for, so painting the hair yellow is like really clever. And I said here that I really like the combination of yellow and purple, so that was why I went on choosing it. Then this was, by the time we'd done our mocks, we were actually given a mark for our coursework at this point, and like corrections. So at this point I had 89 out of 100. So we were given corrections that we could do, which I will go through in a bit because I want to talk about the 4 objectives that they look for in AQA. And now this piece is this page is about layering on my board piece. So I had this idea of what I wanted to do for the face, and I wanted to add an extra layer. So what I did was I decided to go with varnish and drew patterns that I thought represented all of Kate Moss's different sides, like her feminine side, her flirty side, her punk side. I used them all on varnish and went over different purple sections and drew patterns. So this was my last final piece and the evaluation. And so I've got the leopard print, because she's always seen wearing leopard print, and you might be able to faintly see that, but I've got an English flag within the leopard print. And then I have her in this kind of simplified style. I've got the varnish patterns, I've got a really painterly Big Ben, and then a detailed London bus. That is the end of my coursework sketchbook. Now on to the exam one. Moving on to my exam sketchbook. This one is a lot smaller. I like this one a lot more. To start our exam work, we actually went to the V&A, we went on a school trip. And this was kind of to like gather resources, and then we were given a whole bunch of titles that we could work from. The 4 that I decided to look at further were details, out of place, assembled and wrap. And I kind of did like small, what are they called, mind maps for each word, and then I went with a wrap in the end. These are just some drawings that I had from the V&A of like crystals, the tiara, I have the pamphlet. And then I looked at the fashion bit a lot in the V&A, and so I had these drawings of like the bra and some sunglasses and crinolines, which is like the thing that goes inside of the dress. And I decided to look at like how we wrap ourselves, how we conceal ourselves. This was like the main thing that inspired me, which is this 2 photographs called Dressed and Undressed, of women being just as beautiful when they have clothes on as when they don't. And then I still had all these other things of like a swimming costume, a costume. And then this is another drawing that really inspired my work. This is a big photograph that's up in the V&A of a girl's scar down her back, which made me think about how we like conceal our scars and our imperfections, and we almost conceal our stories. And I decided to look at this artist, Martin Margiela, who's a fashion designer as well. And I was really inspired by the way he used materials, he used recycled materials, and he was like questioning what luxury was by making dresses out of plastic bags. I liked how he used recycled materials, and that kind of inspired me to use recycled materials for mine. Then this page is about the Jeremy Scott Moschino show, which was actually Milan Fashion Week 2017 February, so that was like really current, and I was looking at how he used like bubble wrap and kind of inspired by packaging. And I knew that this was something I really wanted to do, which was another like wrap thing. I started to look at sweet wrappers. I looked at the crunchy wrapper, because I really liked the colours and how shiny it was, and I liked the golden purple. And I drew a crunchy wrapper and I looked at how it could be shattered. And then I went on to patterns and materials. So I had all these wrappers, I had bubble wrap as well, and I decided to start embroidering on them. And I embroidered roses, as I just wanted it to be something like really delicate. I wanted something delicate in contrast to the really like strong colours of the wrappers. Then I went on to creating a sculpture. I looked at the artist Anthony Gormley and how he created sculptures that were like this, and then I looked at materials I could use to do this. So I ended up using mud rock and small wooden sticks to create my sculpture, which was a dress. And then I looked at these embroidered bits of cling film being hanging and like hanging dresses, and I came up with a small idea of what I thought my dress could become. Then here I had the idea to use cling film around my sculpture as another way of showing the wrapping and the concealing that we do as humans. And I have another crinoline here, as I wanted to kind of use the structure of that to give the structure of my sculpture. And I embroidered into bubble wrap, which I thought was cool because it's like see-through but still like very much there. Then my final piece, plan and display. I plan to have a light bulb down the middle of my final piece, as I wanted the shadows to be around it to kind of show that your story inside is what's going to reflect on the outside. Like, you can try and wrap it but it will still show through, which is where I use the translucent materials such as bubble wrap and cling film on the outside of my sculpture. Then here I have my 10-hour exam piece, which was like the 10 hours that we had to do our piece in. I show the development and how it was made and what I did in each time period. And then I just have a picture of my final piece. And I did do an evaluation of my final piece. I never actually got to putting a light bulb in it and seeing the shadows, but the idea was there, which is another tip. I think we're on tip like number 5. So my tip number 5 is always to show your ideas. What the examiners are looking for is the ideas, the creativity. I don't believe there are that many marks for quality. I know that in pre-U there are no marks for the quality of your work, but what they want to see is that you have the ideas, because again, you don't have enough time to develop a beautiful, like amazing piece. They want to see that you have the ideas that if you had the time you could. If you're an amazing drawer, then great, but if you're just drawing what someone else has done, then that's not art. That's just like copying what someone's done. You can take inspiration, but you need to have the ideas about why you've done things, and you need to like set that out and plan that out. Now, going back to the mark scheme in my last book, I'm just going to talk about the 4 things that they look for. So A01 is develop ideas through investigations demonstrating critical understanding of sources. So you want to like look at the historical context of things, the artists and the designers, and you want to just get an idea in the research. A02 is refine work by exploring ideas, selecting and experimenting with appropriate media, materials, techniques and processes. So this is, as I said, the experimentation, the getting things wrong, the trying things out, the stumbling upon great ideas. They want to see it all. They don't want you to like take the bad bits out of your book. You need to leave them in so that they can see the experimentation that's gone on. A03 is record ideas, observations and insights relevant to intentions as work progresses. For me, because I actually had a note for this, was like between pieces, like explain the jump that you've made between them, explain why you've made this jump and what made you think of that jump. And A04, present a personal and meaningful response that realises intentions and demonstrates understanding of visual language. So this is like your final pieces. This is where they want to see that you're really responding to the work that you're doing. The last bit of advice that I have is to actually spend time on your work, show that you enjoy what you're doing and find things that you enjoy, because the time that you put into your work will show in art. And also, don't be so focused on the outcome, be focused on the idea. It's just like when you write a history essay, you could argue things either way. As long as you write down why you've done things or why you believe something should be this way, then you're going to get the marks, and it's just the same in art. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helped out, and I hope that you could get some inspiration from my art books, and I'll be seeing you again soon. Bye!